The City Vent. The City Vent.
The City Vent.
You're listening to The City Vent.
It's the City Vent.
The City Vent.
You are listening to The City Vent.
Hello everyone and welcome to the City Vent. So this is the first episode of plenty we're hoping that we're going to be doing over the coming months and weeks. You may know my voice from the spaces that we were doing under the tag City Vent. The spaces on Twitter aren't going to stop. This is just going to be as well as, so hopefully you like it. Chris, who's with me today, I'll introduce him in a second, has been pestering me to do a podcast for quite some time now. And I know a few of other people on Twitter have been asking me as well, so we've finally took the plunge and we're going to do it. So just a little bit about me before we begin. My name's Adam. I've hid behind the City Event tag for quite some time, but if you are interested, my name's Adam Williams. I've supported City for a number of years now. I've got my season ticket renewed and ready to rock and roll for the new season. I sit on the fence usually a little bit in the spaces, but you may find that my opinions might come out a little bit more as we go through these podcasts over the coming weeks. If you've got any ideas for features and things like that, message us. If you want to come on and speak to us, we're looking for people to do that as well, so feel free. So that's a bit about me. I'm going to pass it over now to Chris. On Twitter, he's known as Dizzy Up the Guy, so if you want to follow him, feel free. So Chris, introduce yourself.
Well, thanks Adam, and welcome on in everybody. So I've been a City fan for probably about 25 years now. Believe it or not, I'm from Leeds. Blame me old man, even though he's a Leeds fan, he took me to watch a Bradford City game many moons ago. Chris Waddle popped up and scored a goal, and that was it for me. It was City through and through. You might not always like my views. I certainly am not on the fence all the time. You might have heard me on BBC Radio Leeds or even on the podcast Lower League Look. So Adam, here we are, finally.
We're here, yes. Probably going to be a little bit more structured than what we're doing on the spaces, but the first thing that I'll bring up is the recruitment. I thought it's natural to do that. There's lots going on at City at the minute, so I want to discuss some of the new players that have come in. I'm going to test your knowledge in a minute, Chris. We'll also speak about the contract renewals as well, so the two that we're really keen on, maybe three if you include Powdy, to see if we think that any of those are going to sign on. And also the speed of recruitment and the strategy this season compared to previous seasons. I, for one, am quite impressed with that, so I'll be interested to see what Chris thinks. So first of all, speaking about the new players that have come in, starting with, Jamie Walker, I guess is a natural point. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think that's a great signing, isn't it? I mean, it didn't look great the last game of the season. It looked like he was probably going on his way from obviously what Ryan Sparks has said. They basically locked him in the boardroom to make sure he signed the contract. I think the fans' response that day just showed him how much that he is appreciated at City. And for me, I think we will struggle to get a bigger signing than him this summer. I think absolutely over the moon for him. It's you look back at his debut, for instance. I thought his debut was fantastic. I think it was Salford his first game. He had a few injuries. For instance, he even told me face to face that the reason why he had a bit of a problem was that he was slightly injured. Derek Adams made him play, and then he was out for 2 months. So make of it what you want of that. But yeah, cracking signing.
I agree with you. I think it's been understated a little bit, and I mentioned this on the spaces. I think he's almost one of maybe a couple of marquee signings we're going to make. For this level, it's incredible. I remember when we signed him and the Hearts fans were saying on Twitter that he doesn't always work hard and he goes missing in games. From watching him, of what we've seen of him, that is totally not the case. He works hard. He just wants a challenge for every ball. He wants to go and fight and find it. Wherever it is on the pitch, he'll go. You'll see him running across to try and win that ball back. And for me, I love players like that. I think Bradford fans do. I think you want a person who's got that desire and that fight to want to win games and, get them by the scruff of the neck. We've not seen him score many goals from distance. I think we're all expecting a little bit more of that. So hopefully we'll see that in the coming season. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Chris. I think it's a really exciting one, and I think it's been really understated and undersold by the club a little bit. I feel like they should have really gone for that one. It's good. It's just, I think we need some more building blocks and some bigger names like that personally to come in.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with you completely about his dedication and his workload. I don't think there's many players out there, to be honest, that seem to put more effort in. So I'm quite surprised at the Hearts fans for that one, really. Obviously, they've had him for a few more years than we have, but my impression of him is that he's a complete workhorse and will battle for the ball, will do anything. Almost similar in a lot of ways towards Levi Sutton. I think, that he's got that kind of dedication. And you're right, we would like to have seen a few more goals from distance. But, I mean, he's got a couple of buttes, so I think we've got an exciting number 10 next season.
I think the only thing I'd add is that I hope that he's going to continue, because I guess he had a point to prove because he wasn't getting in the Hearts team. He's buoyed club in it and things like that, and I think he's come to City and thought, right, I'm going to show them what they're missing. I just hope that continues into the new season. I will think it will, but I think that's my only sort of, I guess, apprehension about the signing. But apart from that, at League 2 level, a player like Jamie Walker is going to be fantastic. He's operating below where he should be, let's be honest. Do we move on to the goalkeeper from Southampton?
Well, there's not going to be a lot we can say about him. It's a very difficult one. Not many people know much about him. I was talking to my mate who's a Southampton fan, and he goes to a lot of the games. And I just said, do you know much about him? And he said, nope, not really ever seen him much, you know. Apparently played for the under-23s quite a little bit, but other than that, nothing really, you know, nobody really knows much about him.
Yeah, he's an unknown, isn't it? And I think it's kind of worrying, but Mark Hughes has worked with him before, I believe. So because of that, you'd like to think that he knows a bit about him and what to expect. And again, it's Premier League, isn't it? It's a totally different kettle of fish. He might not be getting anywhere near a team in Premier League, but it's League 2. We've fourth tier. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Are we going to bring another keeper in as well? I hope so, and I hope we get somebody a little bit more experienced as well, personally, that's maybe played in Championship, League 1, and maybe a little bit older. What are your thoughts on that? Are you not in that camp?
Nah, I don't think we will, because we've got, unless Hornby leaves, even though he was nowhere near the Colchester first team, he's really liked at Colchester. I know he's got another year contract, as you well know, as you disclosed to everybody.
True.
I think it's going to, you know, it's going to be a case of if he goes, then we'll bring someone else in. Otherwise, I don't think we'll. Yeah, it's gonna rely on Hornby if he moves.
Yeah, and do you expect the new goalkeeper to be the number one as well? Do you think he's coming in to take the shirt, or do you think it'll be between both of them, or any thoughts on that?
I think he's brought him in early doors. I think the reason is because he's making him number one. I do think that he obviously, as he said, he's worked with him before at Southampton. Obviously sees something in him. Just interested that he's not been on loan anywhere. He's kind of, you know, he seems to have just kind of settled as number 3 at Southampton. I know their boss spoke highly of him, but then again, I don't think he's really going to, if he's questioned about him, he's not really going to say shit, is he? So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. But again, I think I've got full belief in Hughesy. You know, if he thinks that he's the right man to be in goal for us, then, you know, that does it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So still pinching myself, to be honest with you, a little bit that he's our man, but there we go. I think what I'd like to know about the new goalkeeper is how he likes to play. Does he play out from the back? Is he good with his feet? I'd expect he would be, just for the football that we were seeing. I don't think he's going to be one to hoof it forward, so that'll be interesting, and that's what I'm looking forward to see. So moving on from him then, I guess. But if anybody else has got any opinions on these, please feel free to tweet us as well, or any sort of insight into what to expect. It's nice to get knowledge from all of the City fans as well. Moving on, I can't remember the second person after him that we signed, but we're going to look at Matty Platt next of all, which is probably my pick, I think, of the signing. Somebody I'm really excited to see. Barrow fans had good things to say about him. I think it was his first season, wasn't it, in the Football League properly last season, and like I say, he seems to be one that's going to play out from the back. He's a big lad, he's good in the air. Any insight on him, Chris, from you?
Yeah, so he started off at Blackburn Academy. They were that impressed with him. I think they gave him a 2.5-year contract. He's been on loan at a couple of clubs. I know he spent majority of his time in non-league, but to be honest, I think he's only made something like 96 appearances in his career so far. However, he's quite, you know, for a tall central defender, he likes to play from the back, which is exactly what we haven't had for, you know, the last couple of years. I know with Pawdy, for instance, I would say that his distribution at times was terrible. Used to enjoy giving Songo the hospital pass and then blaming him. I think it's a like for like. I think we will see the end of Pawdy. I think he will be in League 1 next season. But he does look quite interesting. He was part of the team that got Barrow promoted. Like you said, that they're all, you know, that they're pretty gutted that he's left. They offered him a new contract, obviously couldn't come to terms. I think it's a good addition. From what I've seen of him as well, I do like him. I think he's one that, you know, a lot of people might not know much about, but he's the potential is there for me. I think he's going to be a really good player for us next season, and potentially in the future he could be a captain.
Do you think it's a like-for-like replacement for Powdy? Do you think it's because we know that he's going, or is it as well as, are we going to get more centre-halves in as well? I guess if Powdy doesn't sign a contract, you'd think so. because what we have behind that isn't impressive, I don't think, for a team that wants to be up there. You've got Kelleher in the ranks, haven't you, as well, and we've got Staunton and Songo. They are 3 centre-backs that have signed up. Have we got any more than that? It's some of the young lads as well.
Just a couple of, I mean, depending on some of the youth team, if they're going to come through, but I think it's probably too soon. I would like to think we're going to sign another central defender. I do think that Pawdy will be going. I think it's just wrangled on too long. I'd be very surprised if he does. No doubt while this has gone out, he will probably sign a new contract. I mean, also with Songo's position, as well as he played last season, I mean, for me, he was player of the season. He's not a central defender. I think he needs to be in that holding midfield and kind of just pulling back from the midfield, just controlling that kind of area. I think it was thrown in, wasn't he, when Canavan left to Barrow. You know, obviously Derek had thrown one of his strops again and kicked off with him. This is the podcast that I could actually abuse Derek Adams for now.
You fire away, sir.
Yeah.
Don't get any arguments from me on that one at all.
But yeah, obviously losing Canavan when we did, I think Songo was pushed there. Obviously we're very lightweight. I would like to see Staunton kick on, but the problem for Staunton I'm finding is that he's had a couple of bad injuries, hasn't he? I mean, he's a young lad, but he's had a couple of really bad injuries, and it would be nice to see him kick on next season. There's definitely a really good player there. It's just whether whether he can prove that and be consistent with that as well. And maybe this season is his chance. What Hughesy sees of him, really.
Yeah, he's a young lad, and like you said, he's had quite a few injuries, which is worrying. They've seen some at international level. He's been playing for the youth teams, only for Ireland, I think. So there's obviously a player there. And when we did see him in that season, we were in the cup actually. I think we beat somebody 5-0. Was it 2019? I'm sure it was behind the closed doors in the FA Cup, and we ended up braying them at their place. And he played really well. He was a standout performer. I don't know, since that I've not really looked at him and thought there's a really good player in there. I know a lot of people are raving about him, but I think he's still one that needs a lot of development. Going back to the point on Songo, I will disagree with you a little bit on that one, because I feel like when Songo actually went to that centre-back position, I thought it was a far better play for us. But maybe that's because we didn't see the best of him when he was under Derek Adams in that central defensive midfielder position. But I did really like the look of him at centre-back. I thought he was really strong, really powerful. The blocks that he made were really good. However, he's the better at this level. He's a better pairing with Matty Platt that we can have starting, and Songo is sort of a bit of a squad man. Is Songo still going to be here, I guess, is the question as well, because I'm sure Mr. Adams will want to come and take him away, but I don't know. I don't think he will go. I'm sort of thinking that Songo will stay with us, but we'll have to see. But Pawdy as well, just going back to your point on Pawdy, I'm happy for him to go. I love a player that's a bit of a fist pumper, that wants to lead by example, but he crosses the threshold for me a little bit, and I've waxed lyrical about this a little bit on the spaces, but for me, I feel like he's quite toxic to have in a dressing room. He seems to sort of throws his toys out of the pram quite a lot. He blames other people around him, like you mentioned with Songo and the hospital balls. I don't like players like that. The Gary Jones kind of leader is something that I absolutely love. That is a kind of captain that I would want to lead my team. Whether there's many of those around anymore, I'm not sure. Charlie Adam potentially, but the highlights I saw him at Dundee, the assist that he made against the team he's playing for, and the dive as well that somebody alluded to the other day. So I'm not really a fan of Charlie Adam coming in, but I'll ask you the question about Charlie Adam. See what you think about that one.
I mean, I've kind of said a couple of times I wouldn't mind him in. Reason why I wouldn't mind him in is that, you know, if you look at the team of last year, we had, how many leaders did we have on that pitch? Not many. Do I think that he would play every single game? Not a chance. Do I think that he could be a role model in the dressing room? Yeah. Could he be a potential coach? Absolutely. There is those possibilities with Charlie Adam. You know, people do mention about his age. I get that, and I do understand that. But the guy has been, you know, a quality footballer for many, many years. Be interesting. I just feel that we do need some more leaders and people that, you know, behind the scenes or whatnot that are going to instill confidence. I mean, obviously you would expect Hughes and Hodges to be able to do that, but I think that having someone who might be able to play a part-time role as well, hopefully, fingers crossed, wouldn't be ridiculous amount of money. I don't mind that, and coming on for the last 20 minutes to really mess up a game or ruffle the feathers, I mean, then I think that Charlie Adam is that player that would really wind up the opposition. as much as I'd like Harry McCurdy, someone like him. So I personally don't mind it. I know that a lot of people have said that they don't agree with it, and that's fine. But for me, I just see it on that kind of sense that we just need some more leaders in this football club, and we haven't got many at all.
Look, it's all about opinions, and this is the thing in it, and I'm glad that we sort of are disagreeing a little bit on the first episode. That's set up nicely, isn't it, going forward? But what I would say is, does it fit in with the strategy? Because the way that I see this strategy that we've got for recruitment, every player's a young player. Barring Jamie Walker, that's probably the oldest that we've brought in. Is this a new thing we've seen at Bradford City? We'll talk a little bit more about this when we spoke about the rest of the recruitment, but are we moving in a new direction? Are we copying the likes of Peterborough and Luton and getting these players in young, developing them, and then maybe, selling them on for a fee when they, start hitting the ground running? So, would you like to see that in a club? Are we sort of club that, wants to do that kind of thing? For me, I think we are.
Yeah, I mean, we have tried it before, haven't we? We have tried it a few times and it's gone to pot. Let's be honest. If you look at some of the teams we've had or some of the players we've brought in the past, for instance, I could think of the two Scottish lads, Mitchell, RIP, and Stewart. That I think that the whole point, even that season, I think we brought in quite a lot of young talent in, and it's not quite worked. You're right as well. It looks to me like we are bringing in more younger players. This is why I feel that Charlie Adam would be great to add in to bring in a bit more experience for those younger lads. Because I think if we've got a team full of young lads, there needs to be a bit more of an experienced head there. So I would like to think, we might potentially bring in a couple of players who are experienced over 30s. I know it sounds crazy, but I do think we need a couple of those older heads to help that team grow. And again, like I said, that's why I would see Charlie Adam. But yeah, no, I think it does look like Hughes is bringing in lots of young talent, maybe some unproven as well. He's obviously got an eye for it, and obviously, what's his name? Stephen Gent. Yeah, he obviously he's hit that. He's got straight on with it with the players. I imagine that Hughes has already seen some of these players. Just go with it. I think we just need to, not worry about not knowing who half these players are. I think we've just got to understand that Hughes has got a wealth of knowledge. He's got so many links in football that I imagine a lot of them are just coming to him saying, listen, this lad is something else. And I think that is showing through with the signings we've made so far.
I'd agree with that, and I think what is interesting that he did want to patch into the loan market, and at the minute we've signed 5 permanents, and I think that's interesting. Or is it 6 now? 5 or 6? So that's going to come in it as well. So, and they're going to likely be young players, but because we've already signed 5 or 6, how many gaps are there going to be now for sort of permanents that fit the criteria that you just mentioned? Is there going to be players that he's going to bring in? I think I would like an older head myself. I think I would agree with that. I just think Charlie Adam might be a bit too old. He's almost got 2 walking sticks down here, let's be honest. But there's your Jay Spearing at Tranmere. He is a player that I would love at Bradford. He's one that I would pick. When somebody said to me, when you think of an older player at this level, who? He's ideal.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Jay Spearing, even though, from what I understand with the Tranmere, he's not had the greatest year. I think he, again, has had a couple of injuries, but he's been on the bench a lot. I mean, I personally, I was gutted when he went to Tranmere. I was kind of hoping that we might be able to, to get him in. So I think someone like a Jay Spearing kind of player, maybe you're right about Charlie Adam. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm just thinking about the fact that, it's that experienced head. Kind of like you look at, for instance, Harrogate, Rory's just signed a new contract there. He's just got another year. He must be getting on to about 45 now. But,
Talking about Harrogate, actually, just thought I'd mention that. The little fella that plays for them, their captain, I cannot remember his name now for the life of me. Would he be a shrewd little signing? Or is he not quite good enough for the top end of League Two? I know that might sound arrogant, but that's obviously what we're aiming for. So I'll pass that one to you and you can let us know his name.
Falkingham. He's quality. I mean, he's been there for a long time as Falkingham, and he's a good footballer. I mean, there's 2 or 3 of them at Harrogate that you still think are really, really good. I love Armstrong there as well. I know that he only signed from last summer, but I mean, he absolutely battered us in both games. But Falkingham's a good call for me. I think that is a really, really good call.
I've always liked the look of him. He's always played well anyway. He's played against us.
Like they all do.
They all step up, don't they, when they come to Valley Parade? But that's another thing, innit? That's another conversation for another day.
I mean, what would you give it out of 10 so far, out of interest?
I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 personally, just for the fact that we're not quite sure who these players are, and they've not sort of been starters. I think we can't really judge it until we see them. But I still think it's impressive, the fact that we're getting this business done so early. Like somebody mentioned the other day on Space, the first signing we made last season was on the 12th of June, and that was Andy Cook.
Yeah.
So to say we've got 6, with 2 weeks beyond that, before that date, that's quite interesting. So I'd probably give it about an 8 or a 9, hoping that we're going to make some really nice signings over the coming weeks as well. And I like the fact that we're doing it early, so they can get away on this training camp and go away and all sort of gel together, which we'll get onto in a second. So I'll fire that question back to yourself as well.
8 out of 10, mate. 8 out of 10 so far. And let it continue.
That's
Let's
a fair
hope it's
comment.
10 out of 10.
Fingers crossed. And actually, just thinking about it before we do move on to the pre-season talk, the out-of-contract players. So we've got, there's 3 key names, haven't there? You've got your Elliot Watt, Powdy O'Connor, Charles Vernon. There are a couple of rumours that Charles Vernon might just be signing. Now, don't quote me on that, and do not tweet me about that, because I'm not 100% sure. I think it's more out of hope than anything that people expect that. I certainly think that he'll probably be playing at a level above next season, and I think he probably deserves to be as well. He's a very good player. Powdy, we've mentioned him, we've talked about him quite a lot. We think he's gone between us. Elliot Watt as well. So Elliot Watt for me, I actually quite like Elliot Watt. I thought he grew with the season. I thought he got better as soon as Adams went and he wasn't his main man. And I'd like to see another season from him. But I think that, unfortunately, I think they're all gone. And I think the fact that we've signed Ryan East is almost sort of put that nail in that coffin. So again, just a couple of the comments on those as well, if you don't mind, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand or what I've heard, again, I don't know anything other than what you read, is that Burnham is signing for Lincoln. I'd be gutted. I think it would be a big miss. Elliot Watt, I would love to see back. I can't see it. I think he's going to be League One. At least he's Elliot Watt next season. I can imagine him, doing quite well. Pardy, again, I've mentioned, I think League One. But then again, let's see what happens with Dion. Certain rumours are spreading, so we'll see what happens with Dion. Hopefully, fingers crossed, what I've heard is all true, so we'll see.
Yeah. However, he's a naughty little treacle in this Dion Pereira because he likes a lot of posts. He puts a little bit winks on the posts, and I don't know, there's a feeling that I think he might just sign, because I don't think he's going to start for them. He could make a few appearances off the bench at championship level, but I don't think he's quite ready. If he has another full season, playing like he did over those last couple of weeks and months, he's going to be ready for championship the following season, or maybe even in January if he goes back. Yeah, I'd love to see Dion. I love him, and I say this so many times, but he just makes football look so simple, and he's just so laid back on the pitch. I'm envious that I haven't got that talent. It's nonchalant, so big fan of Dion, and I fingers crossed that there is something in that, and we'll hopefully see him in claret and amber next season rather than orange. The chap that got released by Ipswich, the striker, his name totally, he were at Tranmere before. What's his name? Remind me, Chris. Norwood. That's him. Norwood. Yeah, Norwood. He's sort of doable, I would say, because he's out of contract. Shimanga's not, because there's a fee involved, but Norwood for me is. I think do you know what? Looking at the National League games that I've been watching, there's a lot of players that you might just sneak up as well if they're out of contract. I'm not too sure about them, to be honest, but there's so much talent down there now. It's almost like a League 3, especially the top sort of 15, you might say, in there. So it'll be interesting. I'm so pleased as well that Wrexham didn't do it.
Likewise.
I'm delighted.
As much as I love Parky, I said this before. I said this on the lower league look. I said I think if they were to go up, they'd go up again. And I think Chesterfield will probably spend. I do think Stockport might. Anyway, there's a lot of players in there. You're right. He's a League 3. I mean, it might as well be a League 2, to be honest with you. I mean, they should. For me now, there should be 3 teams going up and down. I think we've got to that point now where there's that much money. It's more money probably in the conference, or certainly has been in the last 2 years. Whether that'll change now because of the wage cap, than there has been in League 2. It's crazy. Absolutely mad.
Absolutely, and my pick is Stockport. I'm delighted they're coming up. We had some great games with them over the years, and a lot of rivalry, a lot of fighting and carrying on as well with Stockport. Let's not sugarcoat it. So that'll be interesting to see what happens next season when they bring quite a few up and want to kick 10 bells out of us. But yeah, to cap that off, delighted that the celebrity club Wrexham aren't coming up. You guys stay down there and keep the National League warm for not us.
I was going to say not for us, pal, please.
Maybe Swindon. Maybe Swindon might be a nice one to go down because we have a lot of interaction with their fans on the spaces. So yeah, let's move on then from recruitment, and we'll move on now to pre-season. And obviously, there's been an announcement that we're going to Alicante. And I say we. I wish we were. Me and yourself, Chris, unless the club might invite us.
Yeah,
to do some
like someone
commentary
wants
for
to
him or
pay
something over
for us
there. You
to
don't
go
know.
out there.
That'd be good. I mean, I'm not against the idea. On that note of Alicante, do we think that it's just a training camp for a week where they're going to be just doing intense training in obviously the sunshine and just sort of having a bit of team building, or are we going to be playing a game? I mean, this is hearsay, but what would you expect from that?
I would expect that we will have a pre-season game against somebody. It could be anyone, to be honest with you. It could be a couple of farmers, but I would expect that we will play some kind of pre-season out there. I would hope that it wouldn't be behind closed doors, because I do know there are quite a lot of City fans who are quite looking forward to going out there, and hopefully there'll be some interaction with the players, get the fans back on board, certainly those fans who are prepared to pay that. So I would like to think that there will be one. Whether that's the case or not, obviously it's down to Mark Hughes and his planning and his team, what they're expecting. But I think that they need to do that for the fans. I think it would be really nice.
Totally agree, and what perfect way to get the fans back on side. Oh, well, I mean, I think the fans are now back on side, 90%.
Would you say, yeah, out of interest, would you say the fans are back on side?
I think there's always this agenda with Stefan Rupp, which we're going to get onto ownership at some point, but I think 80 to 90% of the fans, as soon as we made that Hughes appointment, were blown away, and I feel like the recruitment as well so far this season has been really good. But yeah, I want to come on to that, but I'd say 80 to 90% of fans would now be back on side compared to when Derek Adams were here. And again, I'll put that back to you, see what you think.
I'd like to think, I think about 75, maybe. I think Mark Hughes has brought in.
So we're around the same amount, and I would agree with you. But we'll get on to that, because I think it's a really important conversation we need to have. But before we do, the only other pre-season friendly that's confirmed is Ossett Albion. They actually put it on before we've had a chance to do that. It's a local one. It's probably easy to get to for fans. I don't think I've been there before. I can't remember who's playing them in pre-season. Maybe we did last season. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that one? Do you think that this season is sorted for pre-season, the friendlies? Do you think they're all sort of and just ready to be announced, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan mentioned in that interview, didn't he, that he said that we're going to have a few more local games, but he said different ones. So I get the impression that, I mean, I don't think we've been back at Farsley for a few years now, but I imagine that we're probably going to play, instead of like the usual like kind of Guiseley games, maybe we're going to stop with. I expect that, and I'd expect that we're going to have at least a couple at home. I know that they always say, I know the point was always like, well, it costs too much money to have the home ground open, but you need these players to have played at the home stadium in front of fans. It makes absolute sense. We have to do it. I think we're maybe going to get a Premiership team. We had obviously Liverpool there a couple of years back. It'd be nice to just get, something like that in would be great, I think, for all the fans as well. So, yeah, let's see what comes along and let's see what more local ones. And Ossett's always a nice little place to go to. Good beer over there as well. So, that'd be interesting. It'll be, just to be able to see the players. Hopefully Park Avenue as well, obviously. I always like the game against Park Avenue.
Yeah, I agree. Park Avenue, I think I would pick that. I think it's always a good one. A bit of rivalry there still as well, which is always nice. But I agree with you. I feel like Mark Hughes, the way that he had us training at the ground at the back end of the season, I feel like he wants us to be playing at bigger stadiums and what we're going to be used to. I'd love to see a friendly with Halifax Town. They've obviously stayed down. It's 2 minutes, well, it's not 2 minutes away, it's half an hour away in car. It's easy for everybody to get to. It's a big ground for the level, and they play at a really good level as well from watching them. I know they flopped a little bit in the semi-final, but apart from that, decent team. So I'd like to see that one, and I'm hoping, like you've mentioned, that we are going to see a Premier League team, maybe an ex-Hughes team. Man United would be sensational, let's be fair. Maybe a Stoke City. I know they're obviously now Championship, but somewhere, Southampton as well, somewhere maybe he's managed and he's got those connections. Man City, that'd be even better, wouldn't it? The champions coming over, and the money that bring in as well, though, Chris. I mean, we laugh and joke, and it's funny because it's probably a little bit pie in the sky, but if we play Man City at home, we'd probably sell out as we did with Liverpool, and that turnover is brilliant. What we're tending to find is with these top-end, Premier League clubs, that they're going abroad a little bit more now. They're doing these cups over in like Asia and trying to sell their brand a little bit. So who knows? If we can sneak one in, fantastic. And yeah, that's the dream. Even Leeds would be nice when it's pre-season.
Well, we did a few years back. I remember I think we did it a couple of times. I want to say I think it was 97. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. 97. I got a feeling that Nigel Pepper scored that day in the friendly against Leeds. Yeah. It might have been 3-1 Leeds potentially. Yeah.
No, don't say that. Let's forget that. Let's get that out. We'll cut that one out, mate. But yeah, I think the West Yorkshire Police will put a block on that one because there's fighting in lumps again out every time we play Leeds, and they come and carry on, and we carry on. It's just how it is. But it would be nice though. Unfortunately, they stayed up. But we had a bit of good news yesterday. I'm sure we'll all agree with Town not going up, and they got shit housed a little bit as well with 2 penalties not going to them, which were absolutely, to me, stonewallers. I can't believe it. I'm absolutely delighted, and I enjoyed my jelly and ice cream yesterday evening after watching that. And I'm pleased actually. I know we've had a little bit of rivalry with Forest over the years when we used to play them at League One and League Two, but they're a proper club, and I'm glad to see them back up. Town are a proper club, and I'm probably going to get pelters for that, but they're not. We can only dream. We can dream, but if you can't, celebrate your own club success, celebrate the downfall of others. I feel like that's part of being a football fan. I tweeted about it the other day because a lot of City fans are saying, I want West Yorkshire clubs to do well, I want Yorkshire clubs to do well. To me, that is absolute garbage. You never want anybody to do well apart from your own team. And you might have a bit of a soft spot for a team, in another country or whatever, as you can see. I love my classics. But apart from that, you can't be wanting another team to do well. That's just my view on it. There you go. My opinions are coming out. I'm going to get slated. I'm going to get, pelters coming at me. But there you go.
You're going to start getting hatred.
And I think I'll start getting hated like you and Chew. That'll be it. That'll be the end of the City event. People might listen to this tweet us saying you two are absolutely shite. Fair enough. That's your opinion. But so that sort of talks about pre-season a little bit. And the Alicante, we're hoping that it might be fan invitational as well. That'd be lovely to get some of you guys out there supporting the club and enjoy. Like we had in the Germany, I know obviously that ownership went to shit, let's be fair, with Reich at the time, but that interaction that we had with the players, and we saw the real side of them, getting pissed up and having a really good time, and you can relate to that, and especially as Bradfordians, I think, for us, it's a working class place, we work hard for his brass, we don't all have loads of brass, it's that sort of city, it's a poor city, let's be fair, so when you can relate to players and have a beer with them, there's nothing more that we want. And again, that might be me just talking about myself, but I feel like as a whole, that's what this city's about a little bit. I don't know what you think about that, Chris.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, I know I'll get pelters for for saying that I am from Leeds, but I do class myself as an adopted Bradfordian. I've worked in Bradford most of my life. We need that. We need that in Bradford. We need to have a club. It is a working man's club. You're absolutely right, and that's what we need.
It's what we need and what we hanker for, I think, and that's why in captains for me you want that sort of that fist pumping player that gets it, that's come from a working class background, a la Gary Jones. He's so weird that he's such a legend and he spent 2 seasons with us, I think. But I absolutely adore that man. He's like Mr. Bradford City, and I know Stuart McCall, yes, as well, but Gary Jones, I just love him. Honestly, I absolutely love that guy, and I just wish that we had longer with him,
Completely agree. I mean, we had been linked with him for a couple of years before that, and obviously he decided to carry on his contract at Rochdale. He came to a point where he felt that it was his time, and Gary Jones. Even like people like Jamie Lawrence, for instance. Jamie Lawrence is absolutely loved at City. Even he classes himself as an adopted Bradfordian. I think he's probably got a couple of clubs, to be fair to him, but I think we are one of his favourites, which is great. I remember seeing him at Aston Villa away when we won in the League Cup. People like Peter Jackson as well, even though he managed that lot across in West Yorkshire, the other team who lost on Saturday or Sunday even. There's certain people in this club, that I think it's the ethics, isn't it? It's the work, like you said, we're a working man's club, and it's those players that just, when put their all in for that football shirt, we adore them. Those are the kind of players that we absolutely love. I mean, for me, I love Nigel Pepper. Nigel Pepper was, he was like our Roy Keane. What a player he was. He was fantastic. So those are the kind of players that really mean everything. I'd be interested as well to know if we can hear some listeners as well, who their players are and why they're important to themselves and the club. What players do they think were epitomise Bradford City?
Really good point. Thanks for asking that, Chris, because I think it is important to see what everybody else, what you expect from a player, what your favourite player is. Is it pacey, winger? What stands out to you? Nigel Pepper as well. I did go to an after-match dinner when he was talking, and he talked about the time that he got sent off after breaking his leg. And it's just the funniest story that you could imagine. And these characters are going out of football. I mean, Jack Grealish maybe, and Declan Rice a little bit, but when you look at these players like your Gazzers and Nigel Peppers, and there's so many of them over the years, it's seems to be a dying breed. But yeah, if you look at the story, I did tweet about it a couple of months ago, but somebody might want to tweet me the tale if you know more than me. But I believe that somebody snapped him in half and they broke his leg. And I believe when he were on the stretcher, he punched the player that did it and got sent off when he were on the stretcher. And I just find that absolutely brilliant. And that in today's football, in today's game, you can't imagine it, can you? So yeah, if anybody can share that, tell me, tweet me it, please do, because I just absolutely love it. And if we can get any of these characters on as well that come on and speak to us, we're well open to it. So if anybody's got any contacts, you know, your Jamie Lawrence's, Peppers, McCall, anybody like that, even the Big Sticks, please let us know, get in touch, and we'd love to have them on as guests. So yeah, I think we'll draw a line in the sand at that bit, and we're going to go on to one of our features. I'm sure Chris is going to make a jingle for this over the coming weeks, but this is going to be the feature that we're going to call Challenge Chris. So it's going to be a bit of a play along at home. So when you're listening to it, if you're, I don't know, tidying your bedroom or doing your garden or whatever it is, I'm going to ask Chris 10 questions. They're probably going to be Bradford City related, at least for now. And I'm going to give him as much time as he wants, but within 8 seconds. And he's got to give me his answers to the questions. And we'll obviously see how well he does, and see how well you guys do. Let us know what you think, and some of these facts as well. Tweet us, see what you think about them. So I'm just going to get the questions up now while Chris readies himself and does not open Google.
I'm so nervous about this.
So, well, you already will, mate, because before today he said I've got really good knowledge on Bradford City, mate. You know, when we do this, when we do this podcast, my knowledge is excellent. He was saying, he was like, it's so good. So the pressure. You did. The pressure is now on. All right, so are you ready?
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple of bonus questions in here as well, or bonus answers, if you can get the exact right. So keep looking at the camera. No looking down. No looking to your left or right. No cheating. So the first question. So question 1. What year was Bradford City founded? Look at the camera.
It's
Go on. 3, 2,
1906.
Nope, wrong. So the answer to the first question is 1903. And we've had it emblazoned on a lot of our club memorabilia as well. So,
look a right twat with that
so,
one.
so this man who's got the greatest knowledge of Bradford City has already got the first one wrong, which is one of the most important questions, and actually one of the easiest questions. So let's move on to question 2 while Chris is going a little bit scarlet. So, who is the record goal scorer for the club? And you get an extra point if you can tell me for how many goals, and that's very difficult.
It was
8 seconds.
Bobby Campbell.
Yep.
And he scored, just trying to remember how many hands he got. So I'm going to go with 82.
3, 2, no. Bobby Campbell scored 143 goals for Bradford City.
Of course he did.
But that's a good answer. You've got the top scorer. I thought you'd get that one, so we've got 1 right so far. Hopefully you guys are doing well at home as well and better than Chris so far. If anybody got that 143 right, please tweet me, because I'll be very interested. Next one. So question 3. Gary Jones joint held the record for the 2012-2013 League Cup competition. What was that record for? So Gary Jones joint held a record for the 2012-13 League Cup competition that we famously came second in, you could say. What was the record for in that competition?
I'm going to say it was probably the most minutes on the pitch.
It wasn't. This is a difficult question as well, but he got the top assists. He got 5 assists in the competition, and he joint held that with a player from Derby County whose name escapes me. So we've got 1 right so far out of 3.
Hell. Right.
So question 4. This one's probably a little bit difficult as well, but we'll see how we get with it. Blair Turgott signed on loan for City in the 2012-13 season, and he played a total of 4 games, including a game away at Crewe Alexandra in the Paint Pot Trophy that we won. We lost 4-0, and he came and clapped us at half-time when we were losing 3-0. There we go. Where did we sign Blair Turgott from on loan?
West Ham.
We did. Well done. Next question. He's getting better. He's warming up. So question 5. In what month was our Lord Saviour, Mark Hughes, appointed as manager at Bradford City?
What month?
Yes.
February.
Yes. Good answer. Thought that one would get you. So we're doing all right now. We've got 3, haven't we? 3 out of 5. Not bad.
I've got the easiest one. I've got the one that I should know wrong. So
and you should rightly be embarrassed, Chris. But just you can pull this back, mate. You can pull it back. So this one you should get. Who famously shaved their head on the pitch at City after predicting our relegation that we famously survived in 99-2000 season?
That would be Rodney Marsh.
It is Rodney Marsh. Well done, mate. Next question, number 7. Who was Bradford's first totally new signing of this summer? So forgetting Jamie Walker, who was the first signing that we unveiled?
This summer?
Yeah, so this transfer window now.
Harry Johns?
You've got his surname wrong, so I can't give you it. It's Harry Lewis. He was the goalkeeper. So our stat man, the stat man that we all, introduced you to, he's got the name of the first signing wrong. And I can't even blame having a drink, it's only early doors. But anyway, next question, and this one is difficult. If you get this, I'll be very impressed. So question 8. Who was the last player that represented England internationally whilst playing for Bradford City? So whilst they were at the club. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So who was the last player that represented England internationally whilst playing for Bradford City? Now, there's only 3 of them that have done it, so that's how difficult this question is.
It certainly wasn't someone in the Premiership because we didn't have anyone then. So it's before that.
I'm going to count you down from 5 now. 5, 4.
I'm going to have a random guess,
3,
and I know it's wrong.
2.
Phil Babb. I
1.
can't think of anyone.
Phil Babb. No, so the last person, and they were captain in 1910, and that was a chap called Dickie Bond, who we signed from Preston North End. There was 3 of them. If anybody gets them and can tweet me them without looking on Google, I'd be very impressed. There was only 3 players that have ever done it whilst playing for the club, and it was Dickie Bond, and I can't remember the other one. Evelyn Tracy, maybe somebody like. I think that was his name. But unlucky on that one, mate. I was never expecting you to get it. So, question 9. We're getting there now. Who was the last player to play for City and represent their country on the international stage?
I'm going to go with Donovan Ricketts.
It wasn't.
Oh.
It wasn't. It was Adam Chickson, who played for Zimbabwe in 2018. Unlucky. I think the one before him was Colin Doyle, who played for Ireland, because he famously flew back, didn't he, to the game
right, he did.
when he was on international duty. Whether he played or not started, I'm not sure, but there we go.
I think he was on the bench, but anyway.
Last question. Don't worry, mate. You can bring the Don up anytime you want, because I love that man. Shoo! Anyway, last question. Question 10. What brand is the petrol station above Valley Parade?
I could see it. Shell.
It is Shell. Well done, mate. Well done. That's a good shout, is that? You pulled it back a little bit. So, let's have a count up out of 10. So, you've got Bobby Campbell correct. You got West Ham. You got February. And you got Rodney Marsh.
And I got,
so
and I
got
got Shell.
4
And
out.
I got Shell.
And you got Shell. So you got 5 out of 10 on the quiz, which I don't think is a bad thing for the first time you've done it. So if anybody beat Chris, or you think Chris is absolutely shite at quizzing and he's got awful knowledge, please let us know, guys, because he's been selling himself in this this light. So yeah, let us know what you think about that one. So if you got anything, anybody got 10 out of 10, please let me know, because I'd be very impressed. Or any other scores, please tweet me and let me know. So that is the Challenge Chris feature over and done with. Hopefully Chris is going to make a beautiful jingle for that. He's probably going to edit it out of this show because he's in charge of that stuff, but there we go. Or edit the answers to make it sound like you got them right. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that, but I hope this makes it to the live cut. So, the next thing on our agenda is the ownership. So we did previously sort of discuss this, and we touched on it a little bit. So, we're talking about investment, and we're talking about Stefan Rupp, we're talking about Ryan Sparks, we're talking about Mark Hughes, Stephen, Jen, and the way that the staff have come into the club. What I will say before we get into this is that this is in no way affiliated with the club, this event. This is open conversation, it's unsanitised, it's just what we think, and I want you guys to also share your opinions with us as well. We want to be as honest as we can be. I'll let you start, Chris. That overall picture, start where you want in regards to the ownership. Stefan Rupp maybe is a starting point. What are your thoughts?
It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. You know, I think if anybody could rate Stefan Rupp out of 10, they would probably give him about a 2 so far. Just you look at where we were when they came in charge. Him and Rahic, and you know where we've fallen to, and you know the depths we have fallen to, and you know I don't feel that he's hands-on enough. However, he would say, or Ryan would certainly say, you know that's his job. That's Ryan's job to be more hands-on, to give him that opportunity. The thing that really frustrated me with Rupp was when Julian Rhodes came in, and within I think I heard it was within 2 hours he went, "You do realise you've overspent by over £1 million?" He didn't have a clue. He didn't have a clue, and that worries me. That kind of money, you know, that Rahic had overspent by that much, and that for me has always been a big downfall of Stefan. He's not a football fan. He's not a football fan at all. Do I think that he needs another chance? I don't know what else we can do. The problem is you look at clubs like, for instance, Oldham's and your Scunthorpes, and you look at the state of the clubs that they're in right now, where they potentially might even go under. I would not be surprised if either of those two clubs go under in the next year. Are we lucky on that sense? Yes. Is it great? Absolutely not. It's not. You know, and there needs to be that repair. That needs to be that they need to bring the club back. And I can't see. I suppose bringing in Mark Hughes. I know that Mark Hughes applied for the job. It wasn't that we went chasing for him, but I think that hopefully will start something next season. I think we're just pissed off of where we are, mate, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think just to go back on your point about Stefan Rupp, there's always going to be a disconnect between him, the club, and the fans. He's not a football man. He was probably sold a little bit of a dream by Reich, as we all were, and let's all be fair, we bought into it. We thought it was going to take us places. He got the wool pulled over his eyes. However, should he have been more interested in his investment at the time and more in tune with it? Absolutely, when you're spending that sort of money. I think for me, I feel like you're never going to have him as a face of the club. He's not interested. It's an investment to him. The only people that have the best interest of this club truly at heart are us as fans, and you'll never get that. It's the same at any other club unless there's a fan owner or it's owned by the fans themselves. There's always going to be another agenda. People want to make money on football clubs. It's just how the world works, unfortunately. Since the ownership, like from sort of late 90s onwards, that's just the way it's been. Unfortunately, it's just football for us. Does he want good things for the club? I do think so. It's an investment. He's paid money for it. He's going to want to turn money over on it as well eventually. Does that mean he's pumping money into the club? Potentially not. However, I like to think that things have changed a little bit in his thinking, actually. I want to sell this club. I genuinely think he does want to sell the club. To sell the club, what do? You make it a saleable asset. Bringing in Mark Hughes, restructuring in the recruitment department, bringing Ryan Sparks in for me. I know some people love him, some people hate him. I really like the guy. I feel like he comes across really well. I've not agreed with every decision he's made, don't get me wrong. The Stuart McCall situation when he extended the contract, that was a schoolboy error. He was new in role. I feel like he's really grown into it, and I feel like he's doing really well. But I do feel like in that way we're restructuring the club. People always say there's something rotten at Bradford City, there's things going on. I get that. I think it's just a lot of the aftermath of the Reich era that we're still recovering from, and I think that we're on an upward trajectory. Is he ever going to invest massively? No, it's not going to happen. But the team behind the scenes, so you looked at the today, so we're recording on Monday, the Regal Foods announcements come out. So the firms like this that have been in Bradford for 20 years, never been anywhere near us, I believe that this commercial team are really good, and they're really getting the investment in. Morrison's as well was a partner that we got on last year. Things like that I think are looking up. And I feel like we've got to try and take those positives, and like when you compare us with other clubs, yeah. But should we be better off? Should we be in the Championship with better investment? Absolutely. But there's a lot that needs to change at Bradford City, and there's a lot that can happen. There's so much potential, like the ground and things like that. But I'm quite excited for once in a long time since we had that promotion push in League One. I feel like this season is going to be really positive. Mark Hughes, I mean, on its own, for that man to come and manage us, certain promises have been made, and I feel like we're going places. And that might be me wearing some rose-tinted spectacles. So be it. I'm going to be honest, and that's how I feel. Chris, share any opinions on what I've just said?
Yeah, I think for most part of it, you're absolutely right. I always say this, and I do always say this a lot, is that, yeah, we probably, the size of the club should be in the Championship, but we're not. We're not on the foot, and a lot of that is down to mismanagement off the field as well as on the field. We've not got the right man in yet, but how many managers have we gone through? I mean, there was the season when we went down from League One. It felt like there was like 15 managers. I know there wasn't, but it just felt that way. And it's time to start showing the fans what we expect. I don't think that we expect to be top of the table and winning the league by 100 points. I know some fans do think that. But let's be realistic. If we can manage to get up this season, there'll be such a buzz around the club again. Let's look at last time we went up. The buzz was absolutely huge. The City Centre was banging. And we just need something like that. And bringing in, like I said, bringing in Mark Hughes, give it as long as he, they give him exactly what he wants, which by the sounds of things they are, then, let's hope. I mean, the problem is for me is that I'm just so sick of, I'm so used to us being in the doldrums or whatever that I just can't even think, right, we're going up this season. I can't get like that because of how many times and the disappointment we have year after year. I mean, I think if we'd have had this conversation this time last year, we would have said, yeah, we're gonna walk this league. We've got a man who's proven in taking a team that was undesirable into League One with Morecambe, and it fell on its arse big time. So, you've got to ask the questions of why. And the problem is as well with a club, I mean, it's all right saying, we need to be saleable asset. Well, we don't own, for a start, we don't own a training ground. We don't own the ground. We are just name alone. And that's a big, big problem for me. Whether we can get someone in who'd like to, that's happy to do that, I think we need quite a bit of money. First thing they need to be doing, I think the talk was 5 million for the ground. Either buy the ground back or get something else. Now, we're not going to get anything like Valley Parade. Valley Parade is our home no matter what we think about it. I know a few fans would like a different ground. I think it's important that we stay there, and I just hope that if there is somebody who can afford us, bring us back the ground.
So I sit on different side of the fence to that. Bradford City is our home. Valley Parade is our home. It always will be. However, I'd like the investment on training facilities before anything else. I feel like Bradford as a city, we have such a good Sunday league structure for kids. There's so much talent in Bradford coming through. They're so competitive, the leagues, and there's players that have made it. Matty Pearson, who I went to school with, he was just in the final with Huddersfield, but they lost. We'll just sort of put that one out there again. There's players like that, but he went to Blackburn Academy, so he played there with Phil Jones for years, and they're a really good academy setup as well. But for me, I feel like investment needs to be made because some of the young players that we're pulling through, look at the team this season, the under-18s and what they've achieved. Your lads like Bobby Point, and I mean, without sort of giving out too much exclusives, which the club will do over the coming weeks, I'm sure. I believe that there's at least 4 of them that have got contracts. I don't know Bobby Point, and he's one of them. Somebody did tell me that, and rightly so. He stood out to me. I think he'll be a brilliant player, but we've got so much talent like this that sort of seeps through the cracks and goes to Leeds and Huddersfield and other academies that we should be nurturing. And I feel, for me, training facilities needs to be invested in. So if you're listening, Mr. Rupp, get us some training facilities at Marley. There's a big space there. Work with Bradford Council. Somewhere else in Bradford, there's so many spaces to do that. Get us away from that school. It's not good. I mean, the only good thing about it is the location, because a lot of our players live in Leeds. That's the only good thing about it. But for me, it needs to be in Bradford. The facilities, I know technically it isn't, but it needs to be somewhere in Bradford where we can maybe go watch, get a little bit more out in the community with training and things like that as well. But yeah, I mean, when I said before, I probably sounded like I'm roasting his spectacles, and I guess people are probably thinking that about my views on the ownership. But it isn't good enough, is what I will say. There needs to be more. I don't want you to sit there thinking that I'm sort of praising it and saying they're the best thing ever. They're not. There needs to be more that comes from them. However, I like to look at things positively, and I feel like the way that recruitment's gone so far this season and the Mark Hughes situation, I feel like things are going on the right trajectory. So I'm thinking that way. I'll judge it in the coming weeks. If you'd have asked me 6 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, and Derek Adams was still here, I was fuming. I didn't want anything to do with the club. January, they didn't back him in January. I think they probably knew they were going to sack him anyway, so they wanted to spend that money on getting rid of him. I feel like he should have been backed in January, and he wasn't, so they totally got it wrong there. Everything happens for a reason. We've got Mark Hughes leading the ship now. Who else would you want? You wouldn't. There's nobody else, so the club's going to it's on an upward trajectory. I believe it is. Maybe on the footballing side more than anywhere else, but commercially, I feel like it's moving in the right direction. And just to sort of touch on Ryan Sparks as well, to ask you the question about Ryan, because he gets his pelters online. He's come off Twitter. I actually reached out to him to see if he'll come on a space. I'll do the same about the podcast because it's a little bit more private. I'd love to get him on to ask him a few questions and see what he thinks. Some people don't quite like the way he comes across on videos. I think some people find him quite arrogant, the way he speaks, and a little bit emotionless at times. And he's made comments about we don't accept mediocrity and things like that. And obviously we have done since he said that. What are your thoughts on Ryan Sparks and, you know, that sort of area of things? Because for me, I feel like he needs support from somebody like a Baldwin who's been at this level in football and done it. That's my opinion. I'll pass it to you, Chris.
I'm personally a very much an in Ryan Sparks kind of person. I do like him. I've you know, he's one of these chaps that if you wanted to have a conversation with him, he would have had a conversation with you, and he'd talk to you for half an hour about, you know, maybe certain decisions that he's made at the club and why he's made it. You know, I've talked to him and I've disagreed with him at times, and sometimes, you know, and he'll take that on board, and obviously he'll disagree with me as well, and that's what I like about him. You know, he's open for, you know, for people to talk to him about what they're not happy about. I think the one thing that I do think is disgraceful is what happened to his car. That was absolutely shocking. That should never happen. You know, I guess, you know, obviously it comes sometimes with the territory, but that's still not an excuse. Ryan's, like I said, Ryan's always open. Yes, he has come off of, like, you know, Twitter and Facebook. I don't know him super personally, so don't ask me questions like that, you know, anybody else, because I don't. But I do know that he was just getting a lot of abuse, and obviously somebody posted out his mobile phone number, and he was getting lots of abuse on there as well, which again is just not acceptable from anyone. I would say that if you've got a problem with him, get in touch with him, send him an email. I've got no doubt that Ryan would ring you back or would have a conversation with you about what your problem is. He's not the kind of guy who will ignore anybody. He'll get straight back to you about it as long as it's reasonable. With regards to, like, does he need an experienced head? Personally, I don't think he does. And I don't think that he would want another person in there as well, to be absolutely honest with you. You know, he's come in here to do a job. It's not been great so far, but however, I would, like I've said earlier on, is who complained about when we brought in Derek Adams last summer? Who thought that was going to be as atrocious as it was? I don't believe anybody did. I think we all were thinking this is a huge signing for the club, and obviously it just didn't work. He can't always help what goes on the field. Obviously, he helps, you know, regarding recruitment, or it might be, you know, signing the contracts. But as you look off it, and to be honest with you, you mentioned it as well yourself about the marketing side of things, and, you know, the companies that we're now working with. And you've got to look at Ryan for that. Is that, you know, that him and his team have been the ones that have brought in this, where we were backwards. You know, when we had Julian Rhodes in, we were backwards. Julian was a dinosaur, and he was at this club far too long. He really was in this club far too long, and seemed to just always go back to Plan A, which Plan A might have been 15, 20 years ago, and I think that was a massive problem.
Yeah, I think just to sort of speak a bit more about Ryan Sparks as well, I do feel like it was a massive foot-in-mouth PR moment when they appointed him initially, because he was a social media guy, and he was totally doing social media really well actually at the time, and he was promoted to be, you know, the CEO, and that's just unheard of at his age. I think he's the same age as me, and you're thinking as a fan, what is going on here? You know, we've had Baldwin in charge. He was a brilliant football man, knows his onions, done it before, done it at Burnley, went and did well there, and obviously at the Football League as well, which is now come away from. But, you know, in that position, you want somebody experienced who's been at this level before, and you feel like Ryan Sparks has sort of been left to his own devices, because Stefan Rupp's not interested really, and then you've got Ryan, and everything sort of falls on his shoulders. And like you've said, he gets all the pelters, he gets all the abuse, as he did on Twitter, because he's the face of the club, and I feel for him in that respect. And you can tell that he wants the best things for the club, but I feel like sometimes it does say the wrong things, and it's a little bit ill-advised, and I don't feel like we've got somebody in the club that is advising him what to say. Some of the decisions haven't been great over the past, although I feel like he's growing into the role. I do, and I would say that, but I do honestly believe that he needs support on the footballing side of things, because he's a rugby league man. Let's not forget that. He's come from an egg chasing background. I'm a rugby league fan as well. I've got a Bradford Bulls signed thing behind my shirt. Don't get me wrong, love the sport, but it's a different sport. There's a lot more money in football than there is in rugby league, even at League 2 level. I feel like he's learning on the job. However, he wants the right things. I just feel like he needs some more support and maybe other people to come in, like we've got now with Stephen Gent. So that's what I'm saying. Are we making the right moves?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was always going to make mistakes. We all were going to make mistakes, and he has done that. That's fair. I think he's trying to sort those mistakes out. Surely, when he saw Mark Hughes coming into the club. I mean, you've got to think about this as well. Mark Hughes, he might have applied for the job, but obviously he was really impressed with what was being said to him. He would have had to be sold the club, even whether he applied for it or not. He was had to be sold the club. You look back at, for instance, when we had Turnbull in. I think that was. I don't think that worked whatsoever. I think that was a terrible decision, and I think that has shown that it was a terrible decision. From my understanding, he said that he would never sign Andy Cook. That there was a bit of a downfall from there straight away, really, when you look at how well Andy Cook did, certainly in the first season.
I'm not Andy Cook's biggest fan, I like that he's a character. I'll let you carry on, Chris, anyway. I'm sorry to be rude there, but...
I think I'm going to have to pull you up about this. I think we need to talk about this.
Andy Cook is not good enough to get us promoted, and I'm going to put it out there, he isn't. I feel like he's one-dimensional when we play. We play through him, and he's the one that strops a bit, complains. Yes, he's our top goal scorer from last season. I just don't think he's good enough. Leangol is a far better player. If he stayed fit, he'd be our number one striker, would Leangol, as things currently stand. That's my opinion. I just don't overly rate Andy Cook, and I know I'm going to get loads of pelters for that, and I'm open to it. Come at me, let me know why you think he is. But if we seriously want to get promoted this season, he's not our main man up front. Chris, off you go.
I don't think he'll be here after the summer. I can't necessarily disagree with a lot of that. I think that you're right. Leangol is our best striker at the club. The problem is he's, it seems to be made of cardboard. That's the problem. Regarding Andy Cook, yeah, I think the first season he was great. I think he's the kind of player that you'd want to come off the bench. He does strop. Absolutely, completely agree. Was it the setup that we had, the formation that we had that didn't quite work for him? Potentially. But like I say, I don't think he'll be at the club in the summer. I think he'll move on. And I think a lot of that's to do with towards the end of he scored, I think it was at 2 or 3 since January, which is not a good enough return, whether the formation works or not. He did look a bit fat as well. He looked like he put a bit of weight on, and I know that was one of the reasons why Nigel Clough got rid of him at Mansfield, was because he was getting a bit fat, and it's happened a couple of other clubs that he's been at. I can't, as much as I don't necessarily disagree with you, I think that first season, I do think that he was good. I think just things have just not quite worked out this last year, and I think he'll be gone.
I just don't think we've played the way that it suits him either under Hughes. Like you say, he's gone missing since January, and the last goal he scored was that one against Forest Green, where he scored tapping, didn't he, really, when it was an open goal, and it just hasn't looked interested to me. A lot of our play used to be him winning the ball and holding it up, but I actually don't think his hold-up play is that good either. And I sound like I'm slating Andy Cook, but I want to be as honest as possible on here, because, like I said, I do sit on the fence a lot on the spaces, but I just don't think he's a man for us. And I think Chris, without sort of saying that, probably agrees with that point, in fairness. And I think there's better out there, and we deserve better. Andy Cook to me is like quite harsh this, but a bottom-end League 2, a Barrow sort of player. No offence, Barrow, but you are bottom-end League 2, let's be fair. Somebody like that, who's maybe fighting against promotion, that wants somebody a bit stronger and physical, that's going to upset defenders and bully him a bit. I feel like we're going to play more attractive football next season. Yeah. And you want players that can fit into that, a la Leangol. A fit Leangol would be one of the best strikers in League 2, if not the, for me. I think he's brilliant. That's the problem. A fit Leangol, which we're going to get 16-7 games out of him, I think, this season. So we're coming probably towards the end of the podcast, looking at the time that we've been on. I know Chris has got a lot of editing to do. So there's obviously a few features that we're not going to get time to do, but there's a couple that are going to be in coming weeks. The first one I wanted to touch on was we wanted to have a feature that's going to look at the best food in Bradford. So maybe looking at the best takeaway, the best restaurants. We want you to let us know your suggestions. If you own a restaurant and you want us to come and eat in there, maybe do a little pod and a video, we're happy to do that and eat for free. Chris is happy with that one. He's puffing his cheeks out. in pleasure. So yeah, if anybody does want us to come and promote you a little bit, we're happy to do that. I know we're not big or anything, but who knows? The sky's the limit, I guess. So yeah, best food in Bradford, guys. Let us know your suggestions. I don't know if anybody saw a tweet from me that I tweeted the food Bible or whatever, the football one. Can't remember what it's called now, the Twitter account. Away Scran or something. Away Days Scran, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Away Days Scran.
Something like that, innit? And I went to Salahadin's, which is on Manningham Lane, and they do a deal a bit like Salah's really, where you get 2 meals for like £6, and you get a fillet burger, portion of chips, and a drink. And that's unheard of in other areas of the country. What we do well in Bradford is takeaways. We've got a lot of them. So we want to know that the best deals, the best food, best restaurants, just any suggestions that you've got, guys, and me and Chris are looking to do features where we're going to go and visit them and mark them out of 10. So that's one thing. The other couple of bits as well is looking forward to the food side of things and the drinking side of things as well. So the other thing we're looking to do is hopefully do a couple of live pods in some of the pubs, maybe pre-match. Let us know what you think of that one. We're hoping to do that. We need to speak to a couple of pubs. If you own a pub and you want us to come and do a bit of a pod in there live, let us know, reach out to us, because we would love to do that. We both like a beer, so that'd be also a winner. So Chris is happy he's joined now. A couple of other features as well is we're looking to get some fans of opponents on, so hopefully if we're playing, like say, I don't know, Swindon at the end of the week on a Saturday, we might get a Swindon fan on the pod to speak about, you know, their team and how things are going. We're really hoping to get some ex-players and City staff on as well. That's the dream. So if you've got any contacts there, or you know anybody who wants to come on, or if you are a City member of staff, reach out to us and we'll get you on, even if you're Billy Bantam. And then any other suggestions as well for what private joke. Any other suggestions as well for what features other people would like us to do? Anything you want us to discuss? Anything that you like from today? Anything that you think is terrible? And if you want to come on and do some of the questions with Chris as well, we're happy for you to do that. So we're looking for fans to join us. It's probably going to be me and Chris in the main that's going to run this. We'll see how we go and how successful it is. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed this today. Chris, anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Anything I've forgotten?
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please make sure to follow. This will be going out on all platforms. So if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple, anything, please give us a 5-star. Even if you thought it was terrible, give us a 5-star rating. And yeah, keep listening. And thank you very much. All the best.
Yeah, thank you, guys. This has been a City event. Signing off. Up the Bantams.
Up.
To the place